Well, welcome back. I'm in Second Corinthians chapter 1, so we're making great progress reading through the Word. Romans to Revelation in 6 months is our goal, and I appreciate you guys staying in there and hanging in there with us. Appreciate you also hanging in there as I experiment with the camera equipment. Noticed yesterday this is much higher resolution than the camera I was using before, so I'm going to have to shave before I make these videos in the future. But today we're again in Second Corinthians chapter 1. Give me a summary statement on this book. We can call it Paul's defense. Paul is defending his ministry, as incredible as that might sound. We can divide it up into, again, 3 sections. Chapter 1 through 7 is an explanation of his ministry. So Paul explains the nature of his ministry. Verses 8 to 9, we see money again, collection for the saints. Very interesting. Every book so far, Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, all addressed money at some point. So important, and money is necessary for ministry. Sometimes we lose sight of that, but it is, and we see that as early as the first century church. And then in 10 through 13, chapters 10 through 13, we see vindication of Paul's ministry. So threefold outline: explanation, collection, and vindication. Paul is being accused of a number of things by a group of people in this church. He's being accused of being fickle. He's made plans and he's gone back and so they're accusing him of being fickle, proud, not impressive physically, and not impressive as a speaker as well. That Paul is not a skilled public speaker as so many of them apparently thought they were. He's being accused of dishonesty. Maybe having mixed motives in what he's doing, or selfish motives. And even he's being accused of being unqualified to be an apostle. And he's going to address all these issues throughout this epistle. His response to this is first to send Titus. Remember, I told you Titus has the difficult tasks usually. So Paul has sent Titus to Corinth to address the issues. So, and then in response to Titus's visit, most, it seems, in Corinth have in fact changed their mind about Paul. There's still a hardcore, a resistant remnant, I call that, and that's what 2 Corinthians is about. This book is written to that resistant remnant, appealing to them to change their mind and submit to the apostolic authority of Paul. So he starts out the book, as books usually do, with a greeting. And then in verses 1 through 11, Paul discusses comfort. And in verses 12 through 24, change. So twofold outline for this chapter: comfort up to verse 24, and then the second part is about change. Change is going to continue into tomorrow's reading as well. So it's an awkward place to put a chapter heading. They were inserted much later. They were not in the original Greek manuscripts. So sometimes they're not helpful as they are, as it is in this case. But in 1 through 11, then, Paul talks about how God comforts afflicted saints. God comforts afflicted saints. And in fact, Paul makes the point that affliction leads to comfort through the afflicted. So if someone's afflicted, they are comforted by the Lord. Perhaps they're comforted by people around them as well. And then they, through that affliction, learn how to comfort others. Paul says something very interesting. He says that learn to comfort in any affliction. So, if someone's had a serious disease, cancer, for example, heart disease, and they've weathered the storm, they've been comforted by the Lord through that, certainly they can address this kind of disease in other people as well, speak from their own experience. I've got a little booklet, for example, from John Piper, who suffered from prostate cancer. He wrote a little booklet called Don't Waste Your Cancer. So he can comfort and minister to people who've had cancer, but the cancer also equips him to minister to others. And that's Paul's point here, and as you as well, as you've been weathered affliction and have been comforted, it equips you to comfort others as well. So Paul goes on here then. He says that his afflictions, and he lists some serious afflictions that he's had in Ephesus, has uniquely equipped him and prepared him to minister to the Corinthians, as others as well. But he's ministered to them for their comfort. So again, we can draw a principle out of this, a principle that we can apply to our own life and to encourage us with. The principle is this, that from calamity comes comfort. Or maybe specifically we can say today's calamity is tomorrow's comfort. Your calamity today will end up in being comforted tomorrow or in the future, and it's also going to equip you to help someone else that's maybe having a calamity in their life, and you could be a messenger of comfort to them. We move from this section about comfort and Paul's equipping and his preparation to comfort the Corinthians to a discussion of change. Now, Paul had planned to come to Corinth, but changed his plans. Apparently, he was being charged with being fickle or unreliable. So Paul needs to defend himself here, and he starts out by saying in this section that he acted with the utmost sincerity, and his firm intent had been to visit Corinth on the way to Judea. Remember, he was going to take up a collection and then take that money to the church in Jerusalem. So that was his intent, but Paul says his first and foremost priority and commitment is to obey the Lord. So he was interrupted in his plan. His plan did not develop as he intended it to do. So he deviated from his plan, and he is certain and makes the assertion that it's to their good. We'll see how this develops in chapter 2. But he makes the point that it's to their good that his travel plans had been changed by the Lord, and in that way he's defending himself against these accusations that are coming against him from some in the church in Corinth. You can imagine this church being read and these accusations being answered. I wonder if the people making the accusations are feeling sheepish as the people in the congregation turn to look at them. Wonder if they're feeling emboldened. As the letter goes on, Paul addresses them more and more sharply. And incredible that an apostle, one who has seen the risen Lord, would have to defend his ministry like this. But sometimes ministry is not what you expect. And I think Paul is facing a trial here. And we'll see how it develops as we go into 2 Corinthians chapter 2 tomorrow. God bless you, brothers and sisters. God bless you in the Word.